Hey, it's Soul, bringing you the World of Warcraft. It is February 10th, 2017, and it is time for me to smash all the news together. And I have a feeling I'm going to be talking for a little while, so grab your coffee. You might be here for a bit. At least I will. Alright, let's recap the week, and let's make it faster this time, shall we? I started my little adventure into making raid encounter videos, at least from a paladin's perspective. Started with the Nighthold raid. I made a modest start with doing Skorpyron and the Chronomatic whatever his face is. You can expect more soon, or I'm going to try to make him come out faster as we progress through the raid, and hopefully we progress a little bit faster. I talked about the WoW token when it just launched in the US, and it just launched in the EU just, I think like yesterday. And I'm gonna get to those shenanigans later. And I did one of those list videos going over some of the quality of life changes that have been introduced into WoW over the years. Now, I'm not that fond of doing list videos like, oh, top 10 this, or, these are the 5 things that'll shock you, or that sort of stuff. But I've come to terms with the fact that that's easy content for viewers to digest, and I'm going to try to do more of them, just kind of in my own style. So if you're interested in any of that stuff and you missed it, just take a look at the links below, and I'm going to provide links for pretty much anything that I mentioned in this video if I can manage to. Alright, now on to the news. The Mythic World First race is over! Woo! Russian Guild Exorcist managed to get World First again after getting World First in the Emerald Nightmare raid. Behind them followed Serenity and then Method. So congrats to them again for an exceptional performance. Meanwhile, the rest of us plebs and fanboys and casuals are gonna keep fighting about what class was represented by the top guild. Buff that class or nerf that class to the ground because they did, the top 3 guilds, this is what they did. I don't know, I don't want to get into that stuff, but for you guys, who are you cheering for? Are you happy with the results? Was it expected? Do you give a damn? Activision Blizzard held an earnings call just the other day, and surprise, surprise, World of Warcraft is doing well. Obviously, it's all thanks to the selfie cam, so hey, thank you selfie cam. You played the long game, and you won. But no, it obviously is due to the successes of Legion and all the content offerings that we've been getting ever since it came out. Now, people can say what they like. They've been saying what they like, and I was in a kind of recent conversation, well, more like a trade-off between some of the experts and scholars over at MMO-Champion about what these quarterly earnings mean. It was one person in particular, one who's pretty cynic about the outlook on WoW, who was citing sources like achievement counts and sites like Warcraft Realms, and basically all these different data sites that try to come to the conclusion that WoW is still dying. And of course it's dying. I mean, everything's dying if you want to be that depressed about it. But to me, that argument of citing certain data points is ultimately flawed because there's no way that third-party sites or fans, folks like you and me, we can't get all the information, period. On the other hand, Blizzard has all the information at their fingertips, and so they can pretty much say whatever they want as long as it's true, right? But the problem with outside observations is that they're so narrow, they're so focused. And like I said, it doesn't have all the information. You can talk about, oh, how many level 110s are there, or how many players have reached level 110. That doesn't mean anything. I guess what I mean is that we can't just assume that any player is, absolutely has to level to 110, has to raid, or do dungeons, or PvP, or do all those things. It just doesn't give us enough information. The one thing that is important that every World of Warcraft player does is log in. And according to these reports, and this is regardless of how you think that Activision Blizzard might be spinning it, the number of people that are getting online has gone up, since before. Now, granted, I think I can make an effective argument as to why the state of the game is better now than it was a year ago. But the fact that the health of the game is in a better state than it was since before, that's really all that matters, right? Actually, I take that back, because all that matters is what we feel about, how we as individuals feel about the game as it is now. Now, that's not all that happened with Activision Blizzard. It looks like Kotaku just broke a story about how they performed layoffs. I think 5% of Activision staff has been laid off, but this does not include Blizzard. A lot of that seems to be due to the less than stellar performance of Infinite Warfare, the newest Call of Duty game. Activision as a whole also doesn't have a whole lot in the pipe coming in. I know that there's I think a sequel to Destiny coming in, and otherwise just not a lot of content coming from the publisher these days. Moving on, WoW community managers seem to have put on blast over the whole developer communication push that they talked about a couple months ago. Players were once again carrying on about how their class doesn't seem to be represented over in the forums. So of course, Lore had to come in and talk about the initiative initiatives that they're pushing, what they've done, and what they're planning in the very near future. Meanwhile, I'm like, damn, these guys cannot get a break, can they? Now, these complaints are valid coming from those certain perspectives. You know, these are players that are looking for representation or answers or just acknowledgement, and they're not getting them. That's fair. Some of the impatience and the expectations of results or, you know, announcements of this sort, that's a little bit more questionable for me. I'm only speaking for myself here, but I don't expect Blizzard to, or I don't expect anyone to, you know, address communication problems by talking about their, you know, what they're doing with their communication problems on a consistent basis. I just expect them to do it. Of course, in this case, we're just talking about communication in certain segments. In this case, it's classes and other stuff too, like doing PTR patch notes, which, you know, thank goodness they're finally doing again. I guess part of the challenge or the conundrum, not a problem, you know, but I guess the challenge that Blizzard faces is that, you know, they can say, and they have said, yes, we've increased our communication by a bajillion times, but there's gonna be, you know, that one small segment that's like, well, you haven't represented, you know, Sylvanas Garrosh fanfiction. You know, where's the representation there, Blizzard? You're not addressing our needs, and you guys blow because of that. Yeah, I know I'm exaggerating, okay? People can say that they're failing on the initiative, but I guess all I'm saying is that at least they are trying. Alright, so the WoW token, and I have wowtoken.info open right now. It came out, the whole token to balance exchange thing came out in the US earlier this week, and I was talking about it in the video. Go and watch it if you feel like it. And it opened up in Europe just the other day or yesterday. So when it did launch in the US, there was all sorts of craziness that was happening. As you can see, and I'm gonna post, hopefully I'll post pictures. You can see like pretty much the limit of how fast the token price can go up according to whatever Blizzard allows. So from the looks of it, midday February 6th, and that's Monday when it launched, until mid-morning the next day, we saw the biggest jump in the cost of the token in pretty much all of WoW token's history. And that's like double the price that it was on that day, which is totally crazy. And then it met with the biggest dip, which had some speculators baffled and had me kind of laughing about it. From there, it kind of stabilized, and at the moment, it looks like it's going for around 85,000 gold, at least over in on US realms. So far, I think I was right in my speculation, where, you know, as soon as the token launches, the price is just going to go absolutely insane. But from there, it's going to have this kind of rubber band effect. You know, once we get to a certain threshold, and it looks like the threshold was around the 100,000 gold range, but it just kind of happened to keep going up for a little while before it started dipping. Around 100,000 gold, that's when people were like, dude, I can buy 100,000 gold for only 20 bucks? Hell yeah, let's do it. So you had droves of people just buying tons and tons of tokens and throwing them up on the market. And the thing with the WoW token is, once you post it at that certain price, you're guaranteed to make that price once it sells. So once we got to that $100,000 range, all these people were just dumping their tokens like, hell yeah, I'm getting this much for, you know, this much gold for 20 or so bucks. And that's why we saw such a sharp crash. Since then, the price kind of went up and down a little again, but now we're kind of stabilized at the price that we're at now. In the meantime, though, that's caused inflation almost across the board. From goods to carry services, everything's a little bit more expensive now. And that's good. That's entirely what I expected now that there's millions and millions more gold circulating in the market. What's funny is that this effect kind of happened in similar ways throughout the other regions, most notably in Europe. European realms got to see their tokens jump up as high as 200k, and then crashed down to its original levels. Then it kind of veered off and eventually balanced itself to a somewhat higher price than it is originally. So we're still approaching the weekend. It's going to be hard to say, if the prices have kind of stabilized, or if there's going to be some sort of crazy upheaval as other regions start launching the token. And if you're wondering why the regions had acted in a similar way despite the token to balance exchange not being out, at least not at the time, again goes to the fact that when you put a token up on the auction house, you're guaranteed that price once you put it up. So in Europe, a lot of people, when they saw tokens going for 200,000 gold, they're gonna buy as many as they can, dump them in, and make a pretty good profit out of it. So I am curious to hear from some of you folks. How did you do in the market? Did you make it big? Did you buy, did you buy low and sell high? What was your guys' experience this week with the whole WoW token of balance exchange? So if you're signed up to beta test the Battle.net client, you might have seen this whole Facebook integration with the client. So this is a thing where you can link your Facebook to your Battle.net account, and from there, within the client, you'll be able to see people that have also done the same thing. They'd be all synced up, and what it'll do is it would suggest, hey, these are your Facebook friends that also have a Battle.net account. You can friend them, and yay. And I'm just man. So as you guys might know, I have a certain agenda with regards to community building over here in the World of Warcraft space. Especially in game, I'd love to see stronger tools to help people get together on a more permanent basis, building guilds or mythic teams or set PvP teams, stuff like that. Something like Facebook though, no, I get it. Facebook is a massive platform, and it'd be dumb, it'd be ludicrous to not try and capitalize on that and use that to get people, more players engaged with each other. At the same time, it's such a passive, shitty method of doing it that, it just kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth. I just think that there's a lot more that Blizzard can do that is more direct with getting players to be engaged with each other, as opposed to using social media to do it. Like, these people are already friends, and so you kind of would think that at some point conversation would come up, be like, oh yeah, I was playing such and such game. Oh, you play this game too? Hey, sweet. Yeah, I play it. Let's play together. And that would kind of happen organically. And that's kind of the point with this whole Facebook tool, to help facilitate that, I guess. But I don't think it does a really good job of actual community building. It just doesn't jive with me. So I guess this is their whole initiative that they talked about way back, about social improvements or ways to better create communication tools between players. I think it sucks, but I can't really be mad at it. The group of people that are developing the Battle.net tool are not the same as the people that develop Overwatch and WoW and other such things, or at least they're not super integrated into those teams. They're focused on just the client, and hey, this is something that they can do. I'm still like, make a guild tool, it would help. That's right, the Love is in the Air event had just started this week. There's some new rewards like a boat and a thing that you can punch, and of course there's the super elusive Love Rocket. By the way, you can queue up for that dungeon event for all of your Lobby alts. Now you've just multiplied your RNG disappointment by that many, so get to it. Finally, let's talk some PTR stuff. One new thing is this ship called the Centenax that's going to be hovering over the broken shore, dropping portals, and well, I was hoping it'd be like, laser beams and other madness, but they're going to drop portals, a bunch of mobs are going to come out, you're going to kill them. Those things spawn portals that make more mobs come out, you kill those too. Off the top of my head, I see that as just like this kind of moving beacon that people are going to be following and possibly PvPing. Basically, it's going to be like this organic event that's going to lure players in and just cause a big ruckus. It seems like it's going to be a little fun. Paladins and mages are going to get access to a new follower in 7.2, and from my guess, pretty much every class is going to end up getting access to a brand new follower too. Doesn't seem that bad, especially since according to another blue post, we're going to be able to deploy an additional follower for our missions and stuff like that. It looks like they're also going to test out one of the PvP brawl events, this time in Warsong Gulch, where there's going to be flags all over the place. I don't get it either. If it's anything like that whole gravity lapse thing in Eye of the Storm, well, I expect a big old clusterfuck, because that thing seems a bit too chaotic and, well, kind of buggy too, but oh well. And finally, Blizzard announced that they're going to do some raid testing over the next couple of weeks. And for some reason, that has people, like, tripping out, and I hella don't get it. During my stream last night, someone was asking me about it, and at least off the top of my head, at the top of my head at the time, I was like, wait, well, who cares? It's just testing, right? that doesn't really mean anything. And I guess the concern that players have about the raid testing is that, they feel anxious about, oh my god, 7.2 is coming soon, and we're only like progressed this far into Mythic Nighthold. We're gonna fall behind, or the content is coming too fast. This is too much. We can't relax, and y'all tripping. At least I think y'all tripping, because we got to take some of this into context. Like during the stream when this person asked it, so it didn't take me that long to do a little bit of research on YouTube and see that alpha testing for Nighthold bosses happened a year ago, and people are tripping about too much Sargeras testing. I think there are a lot of folks that aren't quite understanding the Blizzard paradigm of today. Like, we had Nighthold testing before we even heard about 7.1 Karazhan. I think before we even heard about Trial of Valor. It's like, hey, here's some more stuff, because we thought that the Nighthold was going to be a launch raid, and it turns out it wasn't. We're not entirely sure, or at least I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head if it was a planned thing, but that's just kind of how things turned out. So we've had this Nighthold data sitting on our computers just waiting to be used ever since Legion came out, and it's not until like just the other month that we finally got to go into this thing. We already know that 7.2 is not going to result in the Tomb of Sargeras just, the raid just opening up right away. It's not going to come out, let's pretend it's going to come out, that 7.2 comes out in June. That does not mean Tomb of Sargeras is coming out in June. It might be a couple of weeks into June, or it might be July, or it might be next freaking year, because all of a sudden Blizzard might be, you know what, let's put in a filler raid instead. Boom, here's Trial of Valor Part 2, Son of Helya, and, here we go. They have done it, and they can possibly do it again. I'm going to assume that they're not, though, but I don't know. I just think people are just tripping. What is on the PTR has little to no bearing on what you should be doing today. It's not that long ago when people, including myself, were over speculating because of the whole WoW token of balance exchange, which was data mined for 7.15 but didn't quite come out yet, not until like a couple of weeks or so into weeks or a month, or however long it was. It just didn't come out right away, but people were still kind of overreacting over it. I guess for anyone who is concerned about the Tomb of Sargeras or 7.2 or any of this stuff coming out too soon, just focus on what you're doing. Don't feel like you have to, race against the clock, that you absolutely have to, get bleeding edge, cutting edge, whatever. Okay, yeah, worry about it, but don't think that you're racing against the clock, or that it's, it's impending, or that it's coming in a week or a month or so. It's probably not going to come for a while. PTR testing is basically just a poor indicator of when something is going to come out, because it might not yet. And that's the news. I'm tired of running my mouth. Even though this is a longer and meatier one, I'm happy to talk with you guys about everything that's been going on this week. You can holler at me here, or on my stream, or Twitter, or Facebook. I think one thing that I want to do is try to do a more casual stream. I know I stream my raids on Tuesdays and Thursday nights when some other people are doing their stuff, but I wouldn't mind doing other more casual things. Like, I'll just hop into like I don't know, dungeons or LFR or whatever, and just kind of chat with you guys. So stay tuned for that. Maybe I'll try to announce a time when I'm going to try to experiment with that, just so I can be engaged with you guys and talk with you guys and chat and hang out. Anyway, if you're enjoying this, please like and sub to acknowledge my efforts. I'm going to be heading out for the weekend, so you guys have a good one. I'm Soul. Stay breezy, guys.